All right, it is Saturday, April 10th, 2021, and this is to accompany the video that I captured at 11:27 p.m. as I stepped out of my room just to capture what is group stalking and group monitoring by the people of the state of California, specifically while I'm at the third-party facilitating venue of Economy Inn. The group stalkers are congregated around my room. They are in relevant position, creating all manner of activity that the state that is also present in relevant position and is directing light and is amplifying all of the third parties intentionally created activity, right? That's concerted conduct where the state is amplifying the sound of traffic, which you are also not naturally hearing. You're not hearing traffic inside of the hotel room. You're certainly not hearing it in the bathroom. It is certainly not at a level that is competing with the television in your room. It is certainly not going to be heard at the sink. This is absolutely impossible audible activity that the state is amplifying. That's concerted conduct. This is, in other words, this is not occurring while the people of the state are ignorant of that. This is how the public entity monitors, and it's doing so by the group stalkers who I stepped out of my room in order to capture their images, in order to capture exactly what they're engaged in on my own, for my own purposes of publishing, but they are doing it on camera, and everything that they are seen doing visually on camera is that which is creating impact inside of my room, which, by the way, is not going to actually occur. As you see me on video, again, as they're maintaining presence, just group stalking, just having a group stalking demonic ball, right? Having a field day, remaining in relevant position, because that's what they are, on the first floor while they are maintaining light. The state is always directing light day and night. I've always shown, okay, the state is directing light, okay, while they are present. And while the state is also amplifying plane activity, the state is amplifying helicopter activity, the state is amplifying the sound of what is supposed to be traffic heard inside of my room. The state is creating sensational activity as group stalkers are patrolling back and forth past my room, which the state is not only creating sensational activity, which is rumbling like it's creating an earthquake, which is, again, impossible sensational activity, if you will. You are not creating an earthquake when you're walking by. In the same way as I'm capturing the video and the group stalkers begin rushing upstairs, they're cockroaches, okay? This is demonic activity, demons fleeing, and also demons acting out, engaging in nothing but additional criminal conduct for which the people of the state shall be prosecuted for, and which shall be attributed to also Economy Inn, which is facilitating this conduct at this venue, okay? So they're all acting together. Third parties are acting on behalf of the state, and third parties speak and act as one. So an ignoramus that is engaging in creation of audible activity, which is hostility to documentation of their criminal and demented group demonic conduct, which is monitoring an American citizen, while they are engaged in all manner of unprecedented criminal conduct, is that which is to be attributed respectively, okay? And that's going to be handled. What I captured on video, though, is you see group stalkers. Number one, my first point, they're walking upstairs. There is no earthquake when you're walking up the stairs, okay? You can have a 600-pound group stalker walk up the stairs. That is not going to create an earthquake inside of the room. The bed is not going to be rumbling and shaking. There will be no creation of impact on the ground or through the walls. This is that which the state is creating while group stalkers maintain presence in the path. And there is no guise under which it's ever occurring. I'm just speaking to what is common sense. What is the pattern of conduct, though? The pattern of conduct is that third parties maintain group presence, meaning they are stalking. Okay, you are not in a hotel room on some individual basis. You are not even on the job as a housekeeper or as a manager or owner or whatever your position is at this venue. You're group stalking while you're in that capacity. You are nothing but a group stalker engaged in highly demented group criminal conduct on behalf of a government, by the way, that is also patrolling over the property in planes and helicopters and stalking with sirens and their vehicles, emergency vehicles, police, fire, and ambulance, while the state is also directing light all over in a manner that is never occurring naturally, and also keeping its light sources directly above your venue. This is what prefaces their group presence, which is stalking conduct on behalf of the government. So as I walk out of my room, I capture the group stalkers that begin walking up the stairs. Understand, I'm pointing out to what is not going to be sensational activity. I've already established this. I have already pointed this out, the asininity with which the state engages in the criminal elements and the hallmarks. Understand that is that which is speaking to demented conduct, speaking to a level of desperation to engage in any manner of surrounding with activity, audible activity, light activity, and even the creation of sensational activity. And like I was struggling in the video to say, there were no earthquakes today. But yet inside of my room in 227, and again, it's not a secret where I'm at, the government is monitoring me while I'm inside of the room at 227. The people of the state of California are monitoring and group stalking and aware of everything that I'm doing inside of this room, including while I'm engaged in any personal private activity inside of the bathroom inside of this room, which is entirely sexually violent and perverted conduct, while, by the way, a third-party group stalker specifically documented group stalking with the Ontario Police Department, also heavily documented, engaged in kidnapping, engaged in criminal obstruction of justice, theft of my personal property, while they're monitoring and stalking in the same psychopath manner as these third parties do. She's specifically documented in engaging in monitoring, and I'm going to point out what she's doing, what you're seeing on camera, while she is using what is the form of concern about her daughter, which is none other than engaging in harassment while you're monitoring an American citizen who was aware of it and is documenting it. But I'm going to point out what you're focusing on is her conduct, which is in direct conflict with what's coming out of her mouth, which, by the way, is nothing but audible activity. I want to be clear right now. It is 11:55 p.m. and the state is patrolling by helicopter right now as I speak, okay? And so what I stepped out and I got on video are the group stalkers whose license plate I did recite in that video at 11:27 is when I capture it. And it's about 5 minutes long. This is when they immediately start walking upstairs. Understand, not only is this pursuant to ongoing knowledge of my documentation of their entirely sick conduct, or you're looking at demonic activity in the natural. This is demonic activity. This is that which is entirely twisted conduct, and this is revealed in that behavioral pattern that they are engaged in, which is serving a criminal purpose. But understand, it's rooted in that which is satanic. Okay, very, very twisted, demented conduct that they're engaged in. You're witnessing demented, demonic conduct in the natural. Okay, they're not hovering up the stairs. They don't have red tails on their bottoms. You're looking at people who are engaging in satanic conduct and engaging in that as a group corporately. All right, and doing so on behalf of a government that is operating such satanic monitoring, all right? And that's the context and that's the reality. And whether you want to call it demonic or not, understand it is, but regardless, that is also synonymous with entirely demented, all right? Either way, it is that of a psychopath, however you want to term it. But I'm going to give relevant context for those who have an ear. This is straight out of hell, okay? Group stalkers walking up the stairs, understand they're monitoring. They engage in immediate creation of activity and in relevant positioning as I walk out the door. This is not merely that which is a group stalker fleeing from being captured on video. Understand their movement at that moment with simultaneity to my walking toward them. They know I'm about to document. They know I'm coming out the room before I open the door. They're listening to what I'm doing. And they are engaged in ceaseless monitoring here as a group. While on the surveillance cameras, they're standing around. Guess what? In the room, while they're standing around, the state is directing light. The state is patrolling, group stalking by helicopters and airplanes targeted in its location over me where I am, which is heard inside of my room, which is also impossible audible activity. If you're flying over in the sky, understand actually in reality, you are not going to hear this airplane activity, but for flying at an exceedingly low elevation, which the state does engage in. But the state is always present. The state is always stalking. The state is always maintaining presence in the sky space above me. And the state is targeting this audible activity inside of my room while these group stalking psychopath cockroach sex offenders are maintaining presence as I capture them on video. Walking up the stairs is crossing path. Understand that. Where they are standing in alignment on the first floor, as I walk out my room, they're crossing path. This is what you're looking at. They're also creating light activity as they are moving under what is concentrated directed light, which the state is always aiming and directing. I have already established this. This is ongoing. In addition to the lights that are also on the property itself, that is light that is also being cast onto the surfaces. They are moving under that. Your shadow is moving in motion. That is light activity. Group stalker hops into her Kia. The same African-American female who is a pathetic criminal, a pervert, a sex offender, and a psychopath, hops into her car, immediately uses her car as a means of group stalking, using that same vehicle as a means of concerted conduct while the state is directing light in addition to her headlights. Understand, her driving off is the creation of activity. This is intentional. This is not merely fleeing by a group stalker who was monitoring an American citizen who was aware of the fact that they're being documented, and not because I'm holding up a phone, because they're monitoring and they are engaged in ceaseless surveillance and knowledge of what I am doing. This is how you monitor, okay? So they know what I'm doing when I'm doing it, and so this is not mere flight. This is activity creation. They are monitoring as they're walking up the stairs. They're monitoring as she hops in her car, turns on her headlights, turns on her music, okay, and does so. And that same music, which you hear at that level, which is not exceedingly loud, inside of my room, that same music creating impact in the room. That's sensational activity, that which is impossible to occur. Even if she was blasting her music, which third parties do engage in. I captured this on September 25th, which, again, this is concerted conduct. Not only are they blasting it, the state, using its capabilities, amplifies it even louder. I captured this on September 25th, the third-party group stalkers loitering in relevant position in the parking lot in the white Ford Explorer. That excessively loud music is still not going to create an impact inside of a room on a second floor, even on the first floor. But this is what the state does, and this is how third parties and the state proper act together to monitor via communication devices. So I want to be clear, though. This third party whose image I saw, whose license plate, which is a form of identifying a specific actor, engaged in serial group stalking, she can be in a room or not. It doesn't matter. The government is represented by her presence, and every word, every idle word, every criminal, threatening conduct that she engages in while she is engaged in sexually violent group stalking conduct on behalf of the government, that's an ignoramus, and she was appropriately identified as that. She is pathetic, and I don't really have any respect for that which is of the demonic, and I certainly don't have any respect for criminals, okay? And so this is identification and documentation. I mean, literally posting it and publishing it as extensively as I possibly can, because it is such shameful and disgusting and sick, twisted conduct that is criminal, for which they shall be intensely federally prosecuted for, all right? But this is that which is desperate continuation of that criminal system. You're talking about that which is already defeated. Understand, when the government is monitoring and it does not want it to be known that it's monitoring, and you reveal that, and you also systematically break down every single thing that they are engaged in pursuant to that criminal end, the government has already lost that battle, okay? But this is that which is desperate continuation of that same conduct, okay? To the end, until they are dragged, and they're being dragged right now, but they're going to be dragged further. Until they are dragged inside of that form, the government, this is all relevant to that prosecution, to the prosecution of the people, until that very conclusion. This is how desperate, this is how diligent, this is how determined that government, that entity is. And these idiots that are monitoring with the government, that's why this is what happens when you are monitoring through everyday, I would say subpar individuals that are monitoring. You do not have to have any level of intelligence, any level of sophistication or common sense whatsoever. You literally have to be willing, literally a vessel of that which is of entirely twisted and demented, and that's something else. And that's all that is required. And so it is not a feat whatsoever to overthink, or think beyond the capacity of those who are engaged in monitoring me, okay? And this is the breakdown of that criminal system. And it is pathetic, the ways that they are engaging in nothing but criminal monitoring conduct, and the ways in which you are able to hone in on what is the focus for purposes of prosecution in a court of law, the conduct, and then you can also get to what is the malice with which they're engaging in that conduct, which is what I capture in this video, speaking to her minor daughter with whom she's monitoring and engaging in sexually perverted conduct, of listening to everything that I'm doing. She faithfully maintains her post as she listens to me come in and out the room as I'm documenting what is unnatural light occurring inside of the windows, aiming upward from the ground, which is not from the sun. I'm speaking about the state's engineered light, as it is referred to, directed light. She is in the path. She is monitoring, and you're not doing anything but monitoring on behalf of the government, where the government is operating the system, okay? And so you're talking about utterly being stripped of every false premise that this system relies on. They are relying on the fact that, hey, you can't ever prosecute federal groups. I've termed it federal group stalking and monitoring upon understanding what they're engaged in, and based on that pattern of conduct, which is a matter of federal law. But the assumption and the premise, the false premise, which has literally been deconstructed by documentation and by creation of what is legislation that exists, but also that which shall be enforced against the government, against the people of the state, which is the inability to prosecute, let alone to even identify or be aware of what the state is engaged in, and the state is acting through the people. So this false premise that you can walk around, you can be on your job, you can be at the mall, you can be at an amusement park, you can be at the grocery store, and somehow removed from the pattern of conduct, which is on behalf of a government that is stalking 24/7, engaged in surveillance, and doing so by communication devices, and all you have to do is engage in what you would ordinarily do on a daily basis when you happen to be in relevant position, criminally monitoring. And when you are outside of relevant position, you don't have to change what you're doing. It all naturally creates activity while you're in relevant position, while you are under the state's light source, while the state is amplifying everything that you're doing in relevant position. Okay, all they have to do is be there, literally. Basically, the government has created the environment that is conducive to ceaseless, systematic monitoring. And this is why and how the people of the state of California, those psychopaths that are zooming past on the 60 freeway and on Euclid Avenue and in and out of this parking lot, just coming through and monitoring somebody on the run and leaving, they're not getting away with anything. Okay, this is the prosecution of an entity, and it shall also be addressed by those I specifically identified, but that entity is suffering regardless. Nobody is getting away with anything. Every false premise has utterly been demolished, okay? And the state engages in that. But aside from that, okay, this is just the reality of what are the elements of a monitoring system by a government that is monitoring by communication devices on a massive scale. You're talking about what is the behavioral pattern, which is also the utter removal of coincidence or happenstance. They are engaging in that which is conduct that is for the sole purpose of engaging in those elements, and intentionally so, in addition to the criminal conduct that the government has been directly engaged in and vicariously through the people of the state, all of which, while I happen to be documenting what is monitoring conduct, none of this is coincidental. This is speaking to the total absence of coincidence, both directly and circumstantially. All right, but where you have the elements and where you are engaged in amplification, where you're engaged in directed light, all of this is direct evidence, and there is no third party presence. There is no form under which you are engaging in anything other than that, and you don't have to speak a word. That is federal prosecution, period, and that is the empowerment of any American citizen to prosecute where the government is monitoring you, and there is no third party that has any shelter whatsoever under federal law, none whatsoever. And so I want to get back to what I captured, and then I'm going to go ahead and just publish the video. What is the context to what I captured, and I stepped out. The state has been, I've been actually very gracious. I'm actually always very gracious under the circumstances of a government monitoring you. I'm very gracious, and I could do a whole lot more as far as documentation is concerned, but I just stepped out because it needs to be, I just wanted to go ahead and get that, what they're doing while they're doing it, and this is the utter removal of they're weirdos, okay? These weirdos are standing around while the state, and this is what the surveillance cameras don't capture, they're standing around on camera, they're outside hosing down a refrigerator or a microwave, and guess what? The state is creating what is literally the substantially loud audible activity of what is supposed to be traffic inside of the room. Okay, that's what you don't see, and you don't have to see it. Where you establish the pattern of conduct, you prosecute every single person that you see. They're in relevant position, period. All right, and it is that simple, where the government is monitoring its group conduct. So this is essentially what is supposed to be some sort of bullying by a government. You've totally flipped that on its head, and you can use that to the disadvantage. Actually, they are engaged in that which is group conduct, and they are engaged in that which is intrinsically tethered to that which the government is engaged in. So you don't have any shelter whatsoever. And every idle word out of your mouth, not only is it audible activity, it is also going to what is the intensity of that federal prosecution while you engage in, this is out of the mouth of a minion speaking to praying to God. When you're engaged in a satanic system, I find that laughable. Engaging in speaking about you're going to pray to God. For me, when you are monitoring an American citizen, and this is not in any way reasonably questioned. The state's pattern of conduct is established. The P.O.C. is occurring on a ceaseless basis, and this is what is coming out of the mouth of a pathetic minion who, by the way, is doing nothing but patrolling out of her room down the stairs, goes to her car and walks back toward me again while she was so concerned about her child that she's yelling about when I didn't even have my camera focused on her. She's entirely focused on me. This is what you're focused on, okay? That's P.O.C., and this is out of the mouth of a minion, all right? And so this is not only for purposes of documentation, but this is going to what is informing that policy, which again I advocate, and what I have already published with regard to what needs to be further enforced against a government that is, I mean, it's pathetic, all right? For purposes of prosecuting the protection of the ordinary targeted individual, it is in no way a joke. It is entirely serious. It is unprecedented, and it is a direct threat to your life. Understand, where the targeted individual, the ordinary target individual, has no idea what's going on, is ceaselessly being monitored, and is in every way vulnerable to the criminal conduct, the demented criminal conduct by the police, who will kidnap you, who will create up charges against you and keep you in their jail or put you in a mental ward, having no right whatsoever, while they are monitoring and engaging in doing so, knowing that no one knows because you're not documenting it, you're not publishing it. Their secret is maintained in that way, and it is facilitated in the court system that is acting pursuant to that criminal end. That is why and how S.I.I.S. federal law is to protect and empower the ordinary American citizen. When I step out of my room and I'm capturing what are none other than the faces of the people of the state of California, because they are a group, okay? But I'm getting certain cockroaches images on camera as I'm pointing out what they're doing, because it's monitoring step by step. Walking up the stairs, you're crossing path, you're creating light activity and audible activity, which, by the way, is never going to be creating sensational impact inside of my room, which is what the state is doing while they're group stalking, and you don't see me on camera, okay? That's P.O.C. And so they are engaging in this, which is patrolling. One of the two couple, they walk from, after loitering in a relevant position, and understand even their location. I pointed out the rooms on tape. The first room, the bottom floor room, 116, and which is, and then directly above, which is, I believe, 228, and then I believe it is 115. Those floors, understand, much like what is, as I pointed out, on the surveillance cameras while I was kidnapped inside of the facilities such as West Valley Jail, it is the same setup. You are looking at what is ceilings and doors and well, for the state, that's creating audible activity through the roof above me, because I'm on the second floor and there are no rooms above me. The state is creating noises in the ceiling, stalking with activity in that manner. That's demonic, okay? And the entity is maintaining presence in this regard. It's the same setup at Woodside Senior Apartments, in any apartment complex. It's the same setup in any neighborhood on a residential street. The houses beside you, the houses in front of you, they're all in relevant position. And the state is surrounding my room with ongoing activity, which, by the way, as you see in the video, this heavy-set African-American female, she is utterly pathetic, using her minor children to monitor, who, by the way, are also focused on me. The door is closed, you see. I'm in the parking lot pointing out P.O.C. I'm not calling them to open their door. She opens the door, and they begin addressing me in relevant position under directed light, which the state is amplifying. While I'm standing in the parking lot, my shadow is literally surrounding my physical person. My shadow's in front of me, my shadow's on the left and the right side of me, my shadow is behind me. That's directed light, okay? While they are engaging in monitoring and doing so under the guise of what is harassment. Opening up your door in order to say, oh my gosh, what are you doing? She is so whatever she wants to say. I understand it's audible activity and it's harassment by a minion who is monitoring. That's the government. And they'll be prosecuted for that. This is to break down what is essentially, if you think about it, this is supposed to be designed for the criminal purpose. And I mean, this is that demonic aspect. This is supposed to be, some bullying system of an American citizen, which is, presumably has no way of defending themselves, has no even way of even figuring out what's happening to them, and is to be written off as crazy upon allegations of what they do. They might suspect someone's following them, but they don't know this person, and they don't even know but they have a feeling. Believe me, I started documenting it, and that's why I documented it, because of what I know is occurring. But this is that which I have never studied before, I have never heard of before, and I also know that it is so fantastical, and I made up a word on purpose because it is so malicious. The state intentionally engages in this manner of criminal conduct for that very purpose, so that any targeted individual is not going to be believed, especially when you do not have proof. All right, that's malice. All right, so federal group stalking and monitoring is that which is the utter removal of any presumption of legitimacy by the government. The state that's monitoring you has no presumption of legitimacy whatsoever when you establish that pattern of conduct. The pattern of conduct is that they lie. They artificially engineer information, artificially engineer events. They engage in acting together, both third parties and the state. This is the malice with which this entire entity acts, while, by the way, it is constantly monitoring you on an agenda to conceal that fact. And so I want to be clear. I just stepped out on this video that I capture. I'm pointing out what the state has been engaged in all day long. Booming heard under the room. And understand, let me be clear. The state is amplifying audible activity. So an amplification is nothing other than increasing the audible impact of noise, any kind of method of noise. The state is amplifying helicopter activity. Where the state is flying at an exceedingly high elevation, patrolling around my room by helicopter, you're not going to actually hear that inside of a hotel room. The state is amplifying that, which is none other than a method of audible activity, which serves the purpose of monitoring with communication devices amongst a group. Understand that. The state is doing the same thing with the third-party group stalkers who are patrolling via traffic. The state is doing the same thing through the third parties who are patrolling and maintaining, which is loitering in relevant position where the government is monitoring you. You don't have any right to maintain presence. This is the criminalization of that conduct, which is on behalf of the government. You don't have a right to be in the path where it is achieving the government's criminal purpose, which is a threat to your life. They are loitering in relevant position in these hotel rooms. They're loitering in relevant position where they're walking past, driving through, sitting in their cars in the parking lot. And not only that, they're doing so while they're engaged in corporate invasion of privacy, engaging in creating any manner of noise, which the state is using to also create impact, which is targeted in where it is occurring, which is inside of my room. That is the ongoing system, while they're doing nothing but documenting themselves on the surveillance cameras, which is for the purpose of prosecuting them as well. Okay, there's more than one method of documentation, in addition to more than just my videos, my pictures, and my podcast. Okay, this is that which is fully feasible, of where you are aware the government is monitoring you in the same ways that the state has criminalized technology. That can also be flipped on its head, and I have the mind to implement a few instrumental ways for honing that in, and I'm sure the government is, upon becoming aware of the fact, and I don't really think I'm giving ground here, because I do not think that it is a mystery that the government is monitoring. The significance of what I have published and what I'm documenting and what I am seeking, what I am advocating with regard to federal legislation, is exposing that which is no longer a secret. All right, this is not new. This is that which has been to this point maintained as a fallacy. All right, and serving what is disregard, discredit, confuse, defame one who is making such allegations. But mine are very specific, and what I've seen, I mean, I haven't really seen a lot, but I've seen maybe some people on television talking, they're actually describing monitoring conduct, but they're not calling it monitoring. They don't even know what's happening. They're talking about strangers that are walking around them, police that are walking around them using flashlights. This is light activity. This is patrolling. This is relevant positioning. And they're doing so while they are typically engaged in violating their rights. This is P.O.C, but it has not been coined what it actually is. It has not been hit on the head as for the actual precise conduct is monitoring. They've called it everything else but that. It has not been identified as that, and understand that also serves the state's purpose. The government does not want it to be known that they are monitoring American citizens, all right? And I personally do not think that that is a coincidence. So this is serving the purpose of bringing that to light. You can no longer deny that. This is what the government is doing. I personally have been subject to it, and I'm very familiar with every tactic after having gone through it, being aware of it. Not only were you doing this for years necessarily, so this isn't brand new. It's just the fact that I became aware of it, and then upon my awareness of it, you ratchet up that aggression, which did nothing but familiarize me with every tactic, everything that you can fathom, and where you understand the elements, and then where you also understand the malicious, demented intent behind that entity's conduct, everything that they are doing, which is not being what one would say cynical. This is literally familiarity with what is criminal conduct. This is a threat to your life. Understand, absent documentation, absent an affinity for law and a response to a manner of confronting it, the government engages in, and as I have been subject to, again, under the false notion that they were going to lock me up in a mental ward and make up criminal cases while you're monitoring me. And I have every right to document your criminal conduct. I do not care that you wear a police uniform. I don't care. Someone else might be intimidated by that, but I am not. I don't care that you sit on a bench. You're a criminal. Okay, you are a criminal that is acting in concert with these criminals that surround. This is that which is, in other words, brought into the light from the darkness, and it is no longer that which is deniable. And not only is it criminal, it is highly demented. This is another reason why it is kept a secret, because it is that which is rooted in Satanism. It's satanic. It is twisted conduct that they're engaged in. It's not just criminal. You're talking about somebody that is not operating with all their marbles, while, understand, presenting themselves in a manner that is socially acceptable. You understand? That's what a psychopath is. They know that it's wrong. They know that it's weird. They also know that it's demonic. And if they want to avoid it, they're listening to the truth, because that's the truth. It is entirely demonic. You are operating on behalf of Satan. And that is that invisible influence operating over people, operating over a government, and that is that corporate conduct. And this is that which is translated into what is federal prosecution, the government operating as an entity, acting vicariously through the people, engaged in identical behavioral patterns, which accomplish monitoring with communication devices in violation of existing federal law and that which shall be enforced against it, in order to empower any person that is capable of substantiating your allegations against the government, because it's not a fallacy anymore. The government does do this. If you're able to establish it with documentation, independent corroborating documentation, then you are able to present your civil case, which will have its own brand of federal repercussions. That is the exposure of what the government is engaged in pursuant to that American citizen. But I posit that it's not. The government is engaged in monitoring, period. I don't think they're just handpicking certain people. I'm special. Well, I'm special, period. But I don't think it's a matter of I'm special and the government is just monitoring Erica Lorraine Spencer, out of random. I think this is what the government is doing, period. And there are those that don't know that this is ongoing. This is just what the United States, this is what California does. This is how California gets down, okay? I'm speaking in the vernacular right now. This is what it is ordinarily engaged in. This is just, this is Operation 101. This is systematic. This is what the state is engaged in, and where the state is engaged in that and the people are engaged in that, this is not new, and it is also not isolated to California. All right. Okay. So bottom line is I want to go back to the video. What you see is none other than presence and relevant position under what are the hallmarks that remain at all times. Not only have I already established this, but I have established it as occurring on a ceaseless basis at Economy and located at 2301 South Euclid Avenue. Every word that is being uttered by third parties who are surrounding me, who are engaged in threatening my life, my safety, while they're monitoring, they're engaged in sexually perverted conduct. Every time I go into the bathroom, every time I am removing my clothes, engaged in the personal activity, and I'm being that specific because you need to understand and picture in your mind what they are engaged in as a group, and it is entirely perverted. Wow, you have the audacity to utter out of your mouth, minion, the fact that you're concerned about your daughter, you're monitoring with your daughter in tow. You're creating audible activity while you are actually pursuing me, and I am not focused on you. I'm pointing out what is P.O.C. as I walk down the stairs. I go down to the parking lot. My camera is not focused on her until she addresses me, and then she's got her daughter on her opposite hand. She could have just walked to her car. Pay attention, all right? Not only does she walk to her car, what she's doing is creating ongoing noise as she's arguing. This is creating audible activity, which I am aware of, but I am pointing out the significance of not only, I find minions pathetic, okay? So this is what I'm addressing. Putting a minion in their place, but also understand she's engaging in patrolling. She's walking back and forth down the stairs to her car. Oh, but she's not leaving with her daughter that she doesn't want to be on camera, which I'm not focused on her on camera at all. She's actually bringing attention to herself and the camera, and she's doing that because she's creating audible activity as she's crossing path. And then she crosses path again, going back toward the hotel room. Who also understand, you see in the video when I'm in the parking lot and I'm reading out license plates and I'm speaking to what they are engaged in while I'm in the room, and the security cameras are seeing them in the parking lot, and all manner of what is earthquakes and helicopters and airplanes over my room, sounding like it's Vietnam, while they're just standing around. No, you're not just standing around. You're psychopaths. You're monitoring, and everything that they're doing is pursuant to ongoing group knowledge of what I'm doing. Like, all of those weirdos are listening to me. They're listening to me right now, but they're listening to me 24 hours a day, a different face, the same conduct. The state does not stop engaging in the P.O.C., as I have also already established. And that also reasonably follows where a government is monitoring you. You're not going to stop. You're not going to pause. And where it is federal group stalking and monitoring, you're understanding the nature and how that system operates. And it does so through these psychopaths who surround. Okay. And so the state is creating ongoing impact. And as I walk out, they're engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring with communication devices, criminal harassment, and everything that they are saying. Not only are you monitoring me, which is an inherent threat to my life and physical safety, and this is the legal analysis, okay? And this is speaking to not only the people of the state, the vicarious actors of the government. This is relevant to the venue where I am at, representing the people as well. That venue that is facilitating that criminal conduct by those third parties, maintaining presence in relevant position. All right, this is all of everything that they're saying. This is why you document it, because that goes toward prosecution. And so while I am any target individual is fully empowered to document, you don't have any. This is how federal prosecution is going to go when you're prosecuting a government. This is necessary. And so you are fully empowered to document, and every criminal act that they are engaging in, collateral to that monitoring conduct, which is already threatening your life, they'll be prosecuted for it. And this is what I am pointing out. You're a minion. You are listening to me. You're group stalking and monitoring me. And everything that you're saying out of your mouth is none other than audible activity. Understand, they are maliciously engaging in that. What else can they do? How else are they going to create audible activity other than stepping out and blasting their music like she did? She turns on her stereo, she drives off in her car, creating light activity, audible activity, but then you just open up your door and you just start talking to create in a way demonstrating animosity. Focused on me, however. Why are you focused on me? You opened up your door in order to express animosity of what I'm doing in the parking lot. Not only are you monitoring because of the state's pattern of conduct, this is already established. The group conduct is tethered. There is no dicing and slicing that. That's prosecution, period. But I'm showing you, look at their conduct. Everything that they are doing is revealing the fact that they are focused on me. It is entirely unnecessary for you to walk down the stairs where I am not focused on you, and you are literally soliciting my focusing on you while I'm holding a camera and saying, don't hold the camera on my daughter. I don't even have it on you. You could have walked past, engaged in the P.O.C., and I would have narrated that because you were violating the law, okay? But nobody is putting the camera on your daughter. I don't care about that little minionite. I don't care whatsoever. And neither does she. She's monitoring, all right? The little minion that opens the door. Understand, the state is amplifying activity. You see this heavy-set African-American female on the bed, inside of the room underneath, I believe that was room 116, as they're monitoring, opening up their door in order to do so while directed light. My hand is gigantic. My hand, a gigantic size shadow of my hand is on the door while they are creating audible activity, talking about, I'm going to pray for you. Engaging, this is out of the mouth of a minion, okay? Engaging in satanic and criminal conduct. This is a pervert, all right? This is speaking, understand, it's nothing but audible activity. You just strip it down to the elements. But nonetheless, this is a minion saying, I'm going to pray for you. you? Oh, you have issues entirely focused on me. You should have left with your daughter who you were so concerned with. You walked downstairs and to your car and then back. Understand, elementally, she's patrolling and she goes back just to stand at the doorway. And what do you see? I take a picture of the third parties who step out of their room as I go upstairs. As I go back upstairs toward my room, they come out from underneath the walkway. They come out of the room and they are standing in relevant position. They're monitoring. That's all that they are doing. And in every word that they say, it's malicious conduct by a government that is speaking through the minions. They are pathetic and they are appropriately identified as such. While the minions listen to me, they are listening to what's coming. They are engaged in entirely demented conduct. They are perverts, engaged in hitting and banging walls, which is amplified in sound. Understand, that's demon conduct, all right? They are weirdos patrolling around the room while the state is amplifying that activity. That's demon-like conduct, okay? They're weirdos, all right? And they are not ignorant that the state is directing light. The state is creating shadows on the ceiling as they're walking past. That's demon-like conduct, first of all. That's also light activity in relevant position under circumstances where sunlight is never hitting the ceiling and shadows are arriving above you and not onto the ground. By the way, the sun that is above a structure is also not going to be underneath that hallway structure. This is why you have a shaded hallway. It is also not directing light upward inside of the window. It is not directing light actually inside of the window at all. This is directed light. Everything that's prefacing what is coming out of the mouth of ignoramuses, all right, out of minions who will be prosecuted, and they speak on behalf of the group. They're all going to suffer that together, all right? And the government is the one that is facilitating that. This is the government that's threatening me. This is the government that's defaming. This is the government that's engaging in some manner, some desperate attempt to continue activity, to continue a relevant positioning as I'm in the parking lot documenting P.O.C. And that's all that is, okay? And so that's what I'm capturing on video. And like I said before I started this podcast, not before I started, but as I'm speaking on the podcast, the state was flying by helicopter. How do I know? The same way I've shown you in video after video. Not only are you seeing by the distance, when you see me step out and I'm capturing the state that's flying over, the reason why I know that the state is flying over by planes is because it's amplifying it inside of my room. All right. And the state, the malicious psychopath that this entity is. And understand, you're speaking to what is that demonic influence. That demonic influence is entirely demented. All right. This is that which is a psychopath operating over the group. That is the government, acting vicariously through the people, all acting as a group together. That is a psychopath engaging in that behavioral pattern. And you are amplifying this activity while the helicopter is very far away. And I stepped out of the room. My phone is my trigger. That's it's my trigger finger. I'm very quick with it. And I step out immediately and I'm capturing what is the state's fake sun, what is directed light, what is light activity creation as these minions that surround are engaging in conduct, which the state uses to have light moving all around, that's demon-like conduct as well, which is concerted conduct. While, mind you, an airplane is at quite a distance, you're not going to hear that inside of the room. All right. I have shown this over and over and over again. This is not only pursuant to monitoring, that's activity creation. It is also speaking to what is ongoing proof of stalking. Group stalking via airplane, group stalking via helicopter, the state group stalking by Ontario police, because I'm in the city of Ontario. If I was in city of Vanderbilt, I'm just making up a city in the city of Vanderbilt, they will be group stalking by Vanderbilt Police Department. Understand, okay? This is the P.O.C. everywhere that you go. And that is established by the documentation. That is established by the pattern of conduct, which is necessarily ceaselessly underway, where it is the government. And that's what you're focused on. It is not individualized. But each individual shall be identified and prosecuted as I encounter them. And so I just wanted to step out and get that. That's what I captured on video. And that's the significance of the nonsense coming out of the mouths of these minions who are engaging in none other than harassment. There's a legal analysis for every idle word, which is audible activity in relevant position under the state's light, while the state is engaged in ongoing stalking. Okay. And today, again, Saturday, April 10th, ongoing, I'm putting in air quotes, earthquake-like activity. The state engaging in ongoing sensational activity creation in the room, like you're having earthquakes once every other hour. Ongoing rumbling, which is not only felt, sensational, it is heard, audible, okay? That's activity creation. And there is no form under where you're walking past there. This is the state, period, all right? The state engages in the I say asinine, and also futile acts of trying to engage in some activity, meaning some appearance whereby it's somehow not going to be within the same behavioral pattern, within the same pattern of conduct, if you have some activity that they're engaged in where it actually looks realistic. Oh, okay, well, this is heavy enough. This could actually create rumbling. Guess what? It's P.O.C. All right, this is established. You're talking about a pattern of conduct by a group. And there is no guise under which, once you establish that, once you are showing what are hallmarks, you're also speaking to what is the ongoing malice based on the nature of the crime, which is monitoring. The psychopath is listening to you document its criminal conduct. The psychopath, which is miserably failing, is engaged in an ongoing attempt to try to contradict what you're saying, which it cannot. You're talking about a pattern. You're not going to deviate from the pattern of monitoring because you're constantly monitoring. You're monitoring in different methods, all right? And so this is literally the futility of what the government has engaged in, but this is that which informs policy. This is why you prosecute in the manner that you do. This is why that irrebuttable presumption of public corruption is absolutely necessary. Why? Because of the P.O.C. The public entity that's monitoring is always doing so by the people, but you are also looking at what I have exposed, which is the ongoing malice with which this entity acts, okay? They say and do anything. They are liars. You are looking at demonic activity in the natural. This is entirely demented conduct, and the secret is already out. They are literally engaging in criminal conduct out in the open. There is no guise. And so what you also have is what is literally outright animosity. Just banging on the walls and the doors, because they're just mad. The entity is just mad that I'm continuously publishing documentation, which I'm going to continue to do. I have a lot of documentation that I have yet to publish, and I'm going to continue to do so, while, mind you, I continue to uppercut them with ongoing documentation of these perverted psychopath group stalking demons, because that's what they are. All right. I care not about what comes out of the mouth of a minion, but for prosecuting them for the audible activity that they're creating in relevant position on behalf of the government that is also group stalking in planes and helicopters and police vehicles. OK, that is P.O.C. It is Sunday now. April 11th, it's 12:34 a.m. and I'm going to publish that video, and that's the significance of what you are hearing as I'm in exchange with an inferior minion. That's doing nothing other than monitoring. And the substance of what she's saying is going to be relevant for purposes of prosecuting the government, prosecuting the people of the state, which are the vicarious actors. This is how third parties conduct themselves. This is ongoing P.O.C. All right, so do not be distracted. This is also a tactic. You cannot distract me. I'm speaking to how the entity acts. Do not be distracted by the defamatory language. Do not be distracted by that harassment that they're engaged in. It's P.O.C. All right. But while you're not distracted by it, you address that when you prosecute them. All right. There is no getting out of that. And it just goes to the intensity of that prosecution, which is inevitable. And this shall be revisited. All right. In that form where they will want to very much wish that they had not said it. But it is P.O.C. It is Sunday, April 11th, 2021. And I will be publishing that video. That goes with this podcast. And this is also going to go with I published another video, and I'll go ahead and put that together because it's the ongoing conduct. This is just a sample of what is going on a constant basis, as I've already established. All right? The state is always stalking in planes and helicopters. The state isn't going anywhere. Okay, those psychopaths are not going anywhere in their vehicles with sirens on. They're literally hanging around the block. As I've also shown, posted in loitering in relevant position under the fake sun in the parking lot, just like every other third-party group stalker. They're not going anywhere. They're engaging in the P.O.C. for monitoring while they are constantly group stalking. That's all they're doing. And they're providing ongoing documentation of that, okay? While they're literally listening to all of my documentation that I continue to publish onto the internet, and pay attention to it, onto my website, the patternofconduct.wordpress.com, that which I have captured on audio. Not most, but a lot of the video I have already published in organized fashion in playlists pursuant to venue and date. Or actor, because, for example, the internet is a venue as well. YouTube is a third-party actor as well, and so I have it organized in this manner. My video documentation, and I also have the Google Share drives where I have pictures, images, screenshots, video captures, for example, that are also the ongoing documentation. But the audio documentation, which is dating back to 2019, some of which I'm capturing, and I am publishing it. And the state that listens to to me as I'm listening to days and days and days of helicopter activity everywhere I'm going, and I'm documenting it. And this is years ago. When I said then, I'm going to prosecute them, this is insurmountable, there is no argument for the government, while helicopters are occurring everywhere that I'm going, which is stalking, group stalking by the government via helicopter. As I'm listening to this, what's the state doing? The state that's monitoring, the psychopath that's also present on these security cameras standing all around, right? Because they represent the state. They're monitoring. Starts creating helicopter activity. That's the P.O.C. All right. It's monitoring, but it is also the psychopath that is listening to the conduct. That has to be something rooted in hell. I don't know what sort of. I think it is also. This isn't really relevant, but I'll go ahead and say it because I'm going to speak to that which is utterly defeated. You are talking about what is the course of defeat. It's almost like the bully that got really beat up very, very badly, and so it just engages in neener, ha 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 ha, it hasn't won anything. It got beat up. And so while they're listening to me publish documentation, just engaging in that which is ongoing creation of activity, I've identified what you're doing, and I've also published it on the internet. You are in no way winning, and I continue to document that criminal activity, which is going to your prosecution, which is inevitable, and it shall come to pass. So anyway, that's what the government's engaged in. That's what the state is ceaselessly engaged in, and these psychopaths group stalking via traffic, all right? The state amplifying that. Understand, they're all monitoring on the freeway, on Euclid Avenue, coming into the parking lot on the venue. You can come in a commercial vehicle. You can come in a private vehicle. You can come in an emergency vehicle. You're group stalking. You're the state either acting directly or vicariously, and there is no deviation from that whatsoever. And it is absolutely unreasonable to even try to posit that. But, you can go ahead. I'm just going to document it. It's going to inform federal policy. This is that which is going to be the arsenal of the ordinary targeted individual, which shall be able to fully and thoroughly prosecute and enforce their rights against a government that's engaged in what I have been subject to. This is such that it's not going to happen to another one. It won't remain a secret, at least, and they definitely will have a right to prosecute it, regardless of your identity or your location. That is P.O.C. Erica Lorraine Spencer. Pay attention to my website because I continue to publish more documentation, which I am linking to the videos that are already published. This is all relevant. It's an ongoing story that is connected. So a lot of the video images are published, and I'm publishing the audio documentation. It goes together. I was doing all manner of documentation, writing, taking pictures, taking audio, and taking video. All right. It is all linked together. And what you see as the big picture is what is federal group stalking and monitoring. And this is not any biased opinion. It is that which is undeniable by any entity, especially the state of California. So it is the exposure of what is monitoring by a government. And the specific government is the state of California, the public entity. And the entity, as it is acting via the people of the state of California, who shall regret not learning quickly to shut their mouths. You better find some other way, because everything that you're doing is just going on a checklist. You're going to be prosecuted for that. It is the criminalization of everything that you're doing, whereby the false premise is that you can engage in anything, and it's never going to be known what you're doing. No, that's not true at all. I literally point out everything, how it is engaging in the elements and the criminal pattern of conduct of obstruction of justice, all of which you shall suffer for under the federal repercussions pursuant to that government system. All right, Erica Lorraine Spencer, and that is the P.O.C. Hello, this is 227. Hi, I was just calling because it's not just now. It's actually been, well, I won't say, but I'll be specific. I'll just narrow it down to yesterday, all night, last night, today, and right now. Ongoing, like, booming and banging through the walls, and I have no idea how that would be occurring through the floor, which is the ceiling under me, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. It's very loud activity by your guests around my room. Okay, thank you. It is 12:47 a.m. And that's activity creation. When I'm reporting to him, it's ongoing P.O.C. But as I'm standing at the sink, that's nothing but a method of activity creation. I've already published what was loud banging through the wall. It's not actually precisely called a bang. It's more like a knocking with a thump of a knock. It's a deep sounding knocking that's occurring through the wall. Understand, this is targeted audible activity that is heard right over the towel rack, and then as I move inside of the shower on this day, I'm capturing it. While I'm standing at the sink, this is the state stalking with activity, audible activity, targeting it to the location in the room where I am at, and it is exceptionally loud. And so I've recorded that noise. That's what that is, and it's over at the sink. The state is creating this activity, and then you have what is ongoing as I'm standing at the sink washing my hands. What is a loud boom, like a boom, creating impact. The ground is shaking. Okay, like I said, I'm on the second floor. And I just want to be clear, not only is this not plausibly claimed to be the third party, well, understand, this, they're psychotic, okay? But it's not plausible. Dealing with them in their alternate universe, it's not plausible to assert that you're hitting the ceiling. So this must be coming from next door somewhere. There's nothing on the opposite side. You see grocery outlet, that field is on the opposite side. So it's going to be plausibly claimed to be some room on either side. Right? But this is the audible activity creation that the state is creating. It's sensational activity. I also want to be clear. You can close the door where you are closing the door at a reasonable manner. It's not going to create rumbling in the room, especially not at the, including not at the depth of the room where I'm at. That was rumbling, sensational activity as I'm standing at the sink, okay? The bathroom sink, which is in the depths of the hotel room, which, by the way, where the state is also amplifying the sound of traffic, okay? This is the impossibility of what the state engages in to monitor me with communication devices, but this is what the state engages in. And this is P.O.C. inside of what is a hotel room. The same exact hallmarks present as I published another example of in 2019 as I was living in my car, the state amplifying audible activity of planes heard inside of my car, flying at all manner of elevation, flying over in helicopter and around, heard inside of the car, amplifying the sound of what is the sound of a train, because the train that is at the south end of Vine, as I'm standing at 714 North Vine, even inside of my car, also while inside of the apartment of Tracy Banks at Woodside Senior Apartments, this is not what you're hearing at any of those locations at any time. You are not hearing the train at that distance. You are not hearing the train at that volume. You are not hearing the train at all. That's amplification. That's activity creation. That's what the state is doing inside of the room. All right. And so not only is that P.O.C., and this isn't going to change if the state tries to find some realistic way to create audible activity, which it does not. But even if it does, the monitoring entity is not stopping engaging. It's monitoring, period. I'm just pointing out, not only are they engaging in this, it's asininity, what the state engages in. But so I called him right now. And I'm just reporting that which they've been engaging in. And that's what I was speaking to in my video as well. They've been engaging in this all day long. It's literally ridiculous. I just stepped out to get those cockroaches on video. They can engage in what is monitoring directly as I'm capturing their images and publishing it on the World Wide Web, which they shall answer for. And this is that which is attributed to the entirety of that group and that individual that is uttering that audible activity, which has legal relevance, of which they have not fathomed and probably cannot even comprehend. Because in many ways the entity is not prepared for, which is shown by the criminal conduct, for what is coming. All right. So this is reporting that. Understand, they're monitoring an economy in. Okay. I'm merely engaging in what is dealing with them in their alternate universe. It's going through the channels. I'm going to report that there's loud booming. It's very, very unrealistic how there's booming coming underneath the room and how the bed is shaking. But nonetheless, I'm just going to report it to you. It's very loud. Your patrons all around my room are creating exceptional activity, and they've been doing so for a prolonged period. That's the significance of my call, and that's just documentation of those third parties. It's 12:52 a.m., and that was the creation of audible activity at the sink. The vanity where the mirror is, amplified sound of traffic, and the state engaging in that which I've also specifically published, that specific form of knocking through the walls. The state is doing nothing but creating noise. In the same way as I pull the door open, for example, to go into the bathroom, the door is not actually squeaking. The state that is monitoring, engaged in heavy-duty surveillance, creates the sound of what is supposed to be the door squeaking as I pull it open. Okay, that is stalking with audible activity. It's not the actual door, okay? So this is becoming very, very much aware of what the state is engaging in, okay? And this is a behavioral pattern. Understand this is what the state is doing. This is the creation of activity using inanimate objects that surround me. The state using the television, as I've already shown. This is ongoing. If you can, the best way to put it is the state, the monitoring conduct of an entity is literally using everything around you in any way that it can as literally a motion detector. Any move that you make, activity is occurring, and it's occurring not actually from the door that you're opening, or nobody's actually physically knocking the wall that you're standing by as you are at the sink. I mean, it's totally, but this is what the state does to create activity by me, wherever I'm at. It is the simultaneity of audible activity while you are, again, I'm physically by myself inside of the room, but the state that is present constructively, present with its light, present with its amplification, and present vicariously by the group stalkers that are all around at the venue, while the state is creating an ongoing chorus of noise in my room as I go from place to place, knocking noises through the wall, booming through the walls and through the floor, through the mattress, which, again, that's clearly state action, all right? There is no logical explanation for it, but also it's within a pattern of conduct of monitoring by a government entity. It is P.O.C. And the fact that I have documented this, my credibility is already established. I don't need to make anything up. This is while the state is stalking, and this is while the state is stalking with its light sources, while the state is stalking with its directed light, and this is also fully documented. So this is speaking to what is stalking with activity, literally using anything, any and everything that it possibly can to surround with activity while I am physically alone inside of a private space and just creating noise in any way that it can. And amplification is the chief means that the state does that. But again, understand, when you're opening up the door and you hear a squeaking, that's not the door that's squeaking. In the same way, when you turn the shower on, I documented this, and you hear what is supposed to be the shower squeaking. That is not the shower squeaking. The state is amplifying sound inside of the room. In the same way that it's directing light inside of the room, the same way that it is amplifying the sound of traffic inside of the room, the same way that it is amplifying the sound of planes and helicopters inside of this room, the same way that it creates what is supposed to be an earthquake as third-party group stalkers are walking past back and forth, or walking up the stairs, or dragging an item, none of which is going to occur. But this is how the state is surrounding with activity. This is in concert with group stalkers that surround and the state that surrounds directly. Okay, this is P.O.C. This is how the state is doing it. And so I'm just reporting that. I'm just going to go ahead and publish that because I did make that call and I wanted to document it. And this is also my explanation of what is the ongoing criminal conduct by those cockroaches that I caught on video. But they're engaging in 24 hours a day. That's all they're doing is monitoring. And that's the same with everywhere that I go. And it is systematically occurring while the group stalkers are on the run. They are monitoring systematically on the freeway. Okay, it is not isolated. They're monitoring on the freeway. They're monitoring while they're driving past on Euclid Avenue. That is a systematic means of patrolling. Okay, the government system is in full effect at 2301 South Euclid Avenue. That is P.O.C.